So in the last few years, there's definitely been a lot of talk as to whether or not Gon will be going to the Dark Continent, as what we've seen so far of the Dark Continent arc with the voyage to the new continent so far, the focus has definitely been on Kurapika and also Ging, Pariston, Beyond Nesero, the Kaiken family, Kurolo, and the Phantom Troop, and of course Ahsoka. And that's really great. We're getting especially a lot of time focused on Kurapika lately, but also some of the other main characters in the series besides Gon and Killua always getting the spotlight all the time. And as we know, during the election arc, Gon was healed by Nanika, and his Nen was reset following the major Nen contract to defeat Pito. And as we know from the end of that arc, he is unable to use Nen. So as Gon was experienced with using Nen before, it's likely that he'll be able to unlock his Nen abilities again by training, as he has the prior knowledge and experience. So he'll probably semi-quickly get back to where he was during the Ant arc, and maybe even develop a new alternative Hutsu as well. And when Gon starts training to try and learn how to use Nen again, I hope when that happens, he doesn't just gain all his powers back right away, as in like he never lost his Nen abilities in the true sense, and like because of his experience with his own Nen once, it clicks back right again automatically where he was prior to his transformation against Pito. I just hope a cop-out doesn't happen like that. I really would not want that. And so I think a lot of fans reckon that in around roughly a year's time into the story of Hunter x Hunter, as of the time we're at now, the ship is on the voyage, is going to the fuel destination. I think a lot of people think that Jing's group, you know, a lot of shit's going to happen. There's going to be monsters everywhere in the Dark Continent waters, and Ging and some of his survivors get trapped somewhere, and somehow through electronic means necessary, word gets back to Gon that Ging and his friends are in trouble, and that sets up pretty much Gon having the requirement and the purpose to go to the Dark Continent to save his father, Ging. There could be large creatures involved, large beasts, or even other calamities that are new. You know, remember when Netero went to the Dark Continent, they saw a calamity and it attacked them. Nearly all the people that Netero brought with him to the Dark Continent died. But really, I don't think this is likely to be the case. I think that the main reason Gon will go to the Dark Continent is due to one of his relatives being there, and that is Don Freecs. And as we are discussing about Gon's family, we need to go right back to the Heavens Arena arc. Now, remember when Gon returned to Whale Island after the Heavens Arena arc, Mito told him that 10 years earlier, Ging brought a 2-year-old Gon to Whale Island and asked her to take care of Gon, and told her that him and Gon's mother had been separated. And during this conversation, Gon's great-grandmother, Abe, has mentioned that Jing's dad and Mito's dad have both mysteriously disappeared in the past. Abe's eldest son is Jing's father, and Abe's second son is Mito's father. But we also found out in that arc that they're both still alive. And it should be noted that there's a bit of a difference between how this was interpreted in the manga compared to the anime. They both mean the same thing, but different scenarios basically. So what Abe and Mito told Gon right after Ging left Whale Island, in the manga, it stated that Mito's parents died on their vacation, whereas in the anime, they died in a traffic accident. And in the manga, it was stated that Jing's father was lost at sea, whereas in the anime, he went missing on a fishing trip. Now, I say that both Abe's sons are still alive before, because it's very weird and a very strange coincidence that both Mito's and Jing's parents both disappeared at the same time. Jing's father just disappeared. We don't know if he's dead for sure, definitely not. And apparently Mito's parents died on a vacation. Where exactly was the vacation? It could be that Mito's parents just died in the Dark Continent, or they never reached there. But it also could be that they just died in an accident. The more I look at Jing's character, I really think that Ging might have received a letter or something from his dad or Mito's dad and might have tried to pursue them. Or maybe even he saw Don Freecs' book somewhere and then decided to study more about the Dark Continent to try and travel there now what he's doing today. And remember when Netero went to the Dark Continent unofficially? Maybe Ging might have been related to Netero and the people who went with him some way, and as a result something happened to Jing's wife, Gon's mother, in the process. And I think this because Gon was already 2 years old when Ging brought him to Mito, and that means that someone must have been looking after Gon for those 2 years and now could no longer do so. And remember what Ging said to Mito. He said that he and his wife had separated. And what I think Togashi meant by the term separated, besides actually like breaking up, I think it's something a bit more forceful, like something that was beyond Jing's powers, and that's why he had to take Gon to Mito, because he couldn't look after Gon anymore, so someone else had to look after Gon, which was Mito. And something else I just want to throw out there, I'm not saying this is true, I don't even think this is true, but you never know, it could happen in the series. Is it possible that Abe could be the Zoldyck grandma that we haven't seen in the series yet? She could be Maha's, Zig's, or even Zeno's wife. So, as weird as it seems, Gon and Killua could possibly be related as cousins. And if we go by the timeline of Hunter x Hunter and the characters' ages, Abe is around the same age as Zig, I believe. So she could be Zig's wife. But it also could make sense that Abe could be Maha's wife and her son would be Zig. And that would explain why her son went missing. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't actually really believe that. I just thought I'd put it in the video to see what you guys think. So let me know in the comment section what you think about that. Now, regarding who Don Freecs is, I believe that Don could either be Jing's wife, Jing's father, or Jing's uncle. And I'm saying this broadly, a few options, because I really believe that Don Freecs will be a character whose relatives we can point out in the series. And also a sub-point, how does Ging know about The Journey to the New World, the book written by Don Freecs, which tells us about all the eastern regions of the Dark Continent? And remember that Ging said that Don Freecs is around 300 years old and has been roaming the Dark Continent ever since then. But we got to think about two things. One, how did Ging get the book? And two, how did Don Freecs transport the book to the normal part of the world? And my answer to this is that Don gave the book to Ging, and that the way he was able to travel back to the normal world so quickly was because the time frame in the Dark Continent is a lot slower than what it is in the normal world. So let's take an example from another series, Dragon Ball Z. Remember in Dragon Ball, in the hyperbolic time chamber, or the room of spirit of time, whatever you want to call it, a person can get a year of training in the hyperbolic time chamber, and that only extends to one actual year on Earth. So the time flow in the Dark Continent could be significantly slower than what it is in the normal world, especially maybe some of the really eastern parts of the Dark Continent. And this would explain why Don Freecs could be 300 years old. And that time frame of 300 years old might only be a few days, few weeks, or few months in comparison to the normal world. And we don't really know the exacts between the difference. It's really hard to tell, and that's why I'm saying these are all just estimates. And a further point I'll just add, this would also explain for the same reason why Netero is over 120 years old before he died. And another thing to mention, remember in the Dark Continent there's elixirs and there's special plants, so maybe some of these that Don Freecs acquired also extended his life way beyond what it is for a normal human. And maybe he even had access to A or another one of the calamities that extended his life even more. So back to my point of who is Don Freecs. Of all of the three options I said before, Jing's wife, Jing's father, or Jing's uncle, I really believe that it's either Jing's father or Jing's uncle. And as I said at the start of the video, because Gon Freecs is related to Don Freecs, and because Ging Freecs has a mutual interest with Don Freecs and the Dark Continent and going there, it makes sense that Gon will go there, because Gon has achieved all his goals at the moment in the series. He's become a hunter and he's found his father Ging. And the only small thing in Gon's way is for him to train his Nen and to get it up to the strength and even more of what it was when he fought Pitor. And I really think that a major theme of the second half of Hunter x Hunter will be the father and son bondage of Ging and Gon, and a great way to bring this together would be for Gon to go to the Dark Continent and meet up with Ging eventually. There's two other ways that Gon might also go to the Dark Continent as well. I'm not going to talk about this long because I want to talk about both these two in two separate videos. The first one is that Gon meets up again with Killua and Alluka, because maybe Killua later in the series wants to go to the Dark Continent to find out what this Nanika thing is, what something is. So maybe they'll go there because of that. And also there's a theory that the calamity, i.e. is what Nanika is. And the theory goes that Zig Zoldyck, who was a part of the unofficial expedition to the Dark Continent, which was led by Netero, Zig captured Ai and then possibly implanted Ai into Alluka, and that's how possibly we see something on Nanika. And there's also Gyro and Meteor City. This one is so much more harder to make a theory video on because we don't really know. There's not a lot of evidence about both of them. And the main point I'm going to make here is that is Gon going to have a confrontation with Gyro in the normal world or in the Dark Continent? Because Gon could have a confrontation with Gyro during the Dark Continent arc, what we are currently up to in the story of Kurapika and the Kaikens on the way to the new continent, or even when they get to Morel's ship that goes to the Dark Continent. Gon could have a confrontation right then in the series with Gyro in the normal world, or Gon could have a confrontation with Gyro in the Dark Continent, somewhere in between the arc along the voyage. Or maybe Gon will have a confrontation with Gyro after the Dark Continent arc. It could be the last arc in the series that wraps up Hunter x Hunter. So it's really hard to call when Gon will meet Gyro. So that's my thoughts on this discussion. I really believe that Gon will go to the Dark Continent eventually in the series, and that he will play a major role with Ging, Killua, Alluka, and possibly Gyro as well. The last point, Gyro could be in the Dark Continent or could not be. It's really hard to tell, as I said before. But thanks for watching this video. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below. Do you think that Gon will have a role in the Dark Continent arc? And like this video, comment down below, share this video to the masses, and subscribe for more Hunter x Hunter videos. Thanks guys, have an awesome day.